Hello, everybody. What's going on? This is Jack O'Neill. Welcome back to Inside the Octagon. I believe this is episode 3. It's been a long time between podcasts. I've gotten a lot of requests from a lot of the fighters in the Discord to make another one of these podcasts, and I have put it off for a little while, being busy, but I thought that, I could really do something special with a podcast today to announce the fights. I think that's something pretty interesting. I could talk about them a little bit. I've probably watched hours upon hours of these fights, whether I'm editing them or when I'm actually there witnessing them. So I think I can provide some pretty good insight to everybody here. So in today's podcast, anyway, I want to talk about Fight Night 4. We've got the official card, 9 fights compared to our usual 6. So we're going to have 3 fights on the undercard and then a 6 fight main card. And then I'm also going to talk about our new pound for pound rankings. So if you don't know what pound for pound rankings are, essentially we chuck divisions out of it and we just rank the fighters for who's the best fighter, who has the most talent. So we combine middleweight, lightweight, and heavyweight, and we rank the fighters like that. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that goes because I think there's going to be a big there's going to be a lot of lightweights in it simply because there's so much talent in the lightweight division, whereas it is a bit slimmer in the middleweight and the heavyweights, but that just means we get a lot more fights, a lot more rematches in the heavyweights and the middleweights, so I can't really complain. But anyway, let's get straight into it. Ladies and gentlemen, SFC Fight Night 4, our first fight of the night to open the card, Maverick Oldfield versus Mark Iron, a lightweight belt. Maverick Oldfield is ranked number 6 for the lightweights. Mark Iron is at number 8. Maverick Oldfield, is undefeated, whereas Mark has won 1 and lost 1. So, this is a big fight for both men. I think that Maverick's slowly climbing the rankings. He fought Jason Farah first, who he recently that he fought, and he fought quite well. He was in control throughout that whole fight. Jason did challenge him at times, but Maverick showed a lot of composure to be able to, keep control of the fight and not lose, which is pretty impressive for a young up and coming fighter that's still learning how to fight. Realistically, he's still picking up the trade. He's getting better every single fight, so that was really good for him to see. His other win, I believe it was against Ash Crutcher in one of the 2 first contender series. And he was pretty good against him too. I think he might have finished him, but I can't remember. There were a lot of decisions that night in both of the first 2 contender series. So Maverick, he's worked really hard in the contender series to get this opportunity on the main stage. He's going to open the pay-per-view. I think this is going to be a really good fight. We move on to Mark, and he showed a lot of potential against Kane Chapman-Kenny 2 fights ago. His debut, it was a joy to watch somebody who was so committed, not saying die. Especially Kane landed some huge shots. That's one of the best SFC fights I've ever watched, Chapman-Kenny and Mark Iron. Either one of them could have realistically won it. Iron ended up getting the win by decision before he goes on to fight Herbin, and you could see the talent difference. To be honest, I think Sam Herbin is one of the best lightweights in the world at the moment, and he's going to get his chance, but we'll get onto him later. But Mark, he just struggled to keep up with Herbin's pace, so I think Mark needs to improve his fitness and he needs to improve his composure because when Herbin started gaining momentum, gaining control, Mark was panicking a little bit. He landed some okay shots, but in the end he was knocked out. And what does that do for your confidence? That's the other thing. It's going to be interesting to see how Mark Iron gets into this fight and how he approaches it. Is he going to be wary? Because Maverick Oldfield has got power. We've seen him knock down Jason Farah many times in that fight. Mark Iron does have a massive size advantage against Maverick. Maverick, Jason, they're both little dudes. Will that play much of a difference? I don't know. Jason Farah dominated Joshua Butterfield, and he was a lot shorter than him. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight goes. A prediction off the top of my head, I would say Mark Iron probably wins. He's got a bit more experience on the big stage than Maverick Oldfield. I'm going to tip him to win by decision. I think that but I think he'll win every round. Next fight, I'm really keen for this one. Charlie Butler versus Liam Ryan 3. It is our first ever trilogy in the SFC, and these 2 guys, they've got so much history. Charlie Butler, ranked number 7 in the division, versus Liam Ryan, ranked number 5. It is a bit of a harsh ranking on Charlie. I mean, he has lost 2 fights and only won 1, and that one fight he did win was in his debut against Liam Ryan. But he won. I think he definitely did win every round against Liam Ryan in that last fight on the Contender Series until Liam submitted him. But that just shows how dangerous Liam Ryan is. The way he got Charlie Butler into that armbar position was beautiful. He can pop a submission out of nowhere, which is why we cannot underestimate Liam Ryan in this fight. I think Charlie was really well controlled throughout that whole fight, but once Liam took that submission, he had no answer. And that's the problem with Charlie. And we almost did see it in his first fight with Liam Ryan too, as he was just so composed. He was throwing a lot of shots, and he did end up knocking out Liam Ryan, but he didn't throw power shots until he really had him hurt and really wore him down, which is good. But when you've got Liam Ryan now, who can now pop a submission out anywhere, you need to be ready. You need to throw some more power shots. So I think Charlie Butler is going to need to end this fight early for him to win. Who do I think is going to win? I'm going to tip Charlie Butler by knockout. I think he's going to readjust his style. I think he's going to do it early. I reckon end of round 1 or midway through round 2. Simply because he cannot afford to let Liam Ryan take control again. Alright, the next fight, a heavyweight bout, Jackson Allison versus Lennox Prakash. I hope I said that right. Sorry, Lenny. Regardless, Allison ranked number 2, Lenny ranked number 3 in the heavyweight division. This is huge. This is real early on the card, but you need to make sure you watch this one because the winner will likely get the next shot at the heavyweight title. So this is Jackson Allison's chance to show everyone that he is still a top contender. He's ranked number 2, but Lenny wants to take that spot off of him. Lenny has had one fight in the SFC, and he destroyed Luke Malkus with leg kicks. Luke Malkus was a title challenger. Although Luke Malkus hasn't won a fight yet, Prakash was very good in that fight. Who do I think wins? I'm going to tip the upset. I think Jackson Allison is probably the favourite, but I'm going to tip Lenny to win by decision. I think that there won't be a knockout in this fight. Next up, Jai Collins versus Sam Herban. This is a huge fight. Jai Collins ranked number 3, Sam Herban ranked number 4. The winner of this fight will be very close to a title shot. Whether or not they get it, we'll have to wait and see because there's a lot of other top lightweight contenders coming through right now. Collins, he's really starting to improve his striking. Each fight, his striking is getting better, and that's exciting. That's exciting to see. Whereas Sam Herban, his striking has always been good. He was pretty good against Charlie Butler in his debut. He showed a lot of good signs, but he was clinical against Mark Iron. This is his big shot, though. This is an elite lightweight. Regardless of Jai Collins' record, he's still one of the best lightweights in the world. Sam Herban needs to beat Jai Collins if he wants any shot of a title against people that have beat Jai. He can't look at Jai as a stepping stone, though, because Jai sees Sam as a stepping stone. Jai knows that if he beats Sam, he's straight back into that picture. He proves that he's still one of the top tier lightweights. Who do I think will win? It's a really tough fight to pick because either guy realistically could win it. I think Sam Herban's on a bit of a roll right now, and I think he'll beat Jai by decision. Jai's only ever been finished once, and that was by Corey Bell. Every other fight, it's been a decision. Oh, and Sonny Teo, sorry. Those are the 2 guys that have finished him. So he's pretty tough. He's a pretty tough guy. I think Sam will win by decision. The next fight, Jamal Kalsakal will take on Attila Centerdag. Ranked number 2, Jamal versus ranked number 4, Attila. This was originally meant to be Kalsakal versus Tim James, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Kalsakal was really keen to fight Attila. Attila's coming off a brutal first round knockout loss, whereas Kalsakal, he's building momentum. He's fought McCartney twice, beat him twice. Now he's going to take on some top tier opponents. Attila is one of those guys. You've got above Attila, Tim James, Rahal Koval, and Jamal. And then, of course, Lachlan Martin, the champion of the division. So this is Attila's chance to prove that he still can be in the conversation for a title shot. Jamal, he's ranked number 2 because he's had 2 really good wins, but he hasn't been challenged against the top middleweight yet. So this is his chance to prove that he can get a title shot too. I would say the winner of this probably will get that title shot, depending on what happens with the next fight on the card, which I'll talk about in a minute. I think that Jamal is very close to a title shot. He's super exciting, but Attila wins this fight, all of a sudden he's right back in that conversation. So I'm going to tip Kalsakal to get the win. I think that he's riding a high. He's got a lot of momentum coming into this fight. 2 really good, strong wins where he's really shown that he's a really good middleweight. I think that he'll win. I think he will knock Attila out in the second round. Next up, we've got Tim James versus Corey Bell. I cannot believe we got this fight, ladies and gentlemen. Tim James, the ranked number 3 middleweight in the world, and Corey Bell, the ranked number 2 lightweight in the world. This is huge for the division. This is one of our first cross division fights since Fight Night 1, where the divisions weren't really set in stone. So we've got our first real one. The fight will be fought at middleweight. We thought about a catchweight, but Corey said, I want this fight at middleweight. I don't want any excuses for Tim James. Corey Bell was hesitant to take this fight, not because he was scared of Tim James. Don't think he was scared of him. He didn't want to take this fight because he didn't want to lose his lightweight rankings, because that's his goal, to get back up to that lightweight title. But we told him that this fight, it will definitely have, if he wants to go back down to lightweight afterwards, this fight will contribute to his ranking down there. So that's what got this fight over the line. This is huge, man. Like, you look at these two men, realistically, the winner of this will be right in line for a title shot in their division. Tim James only a middleweight, but Corey Bell, he can go back down to lightweight and try and fight for a title, or he could probably stay at middleweight if he wins this fight and go for a title. It's all up to him. And that excites me, the fact that we're starting to see fighters jumping from division to division. We might get a double champ in the next little while. Maybe Sonny Taya jumps up to middleweight, fights Lachlan Martin. We'll have to wait and see. But regardless, this is a huge rivalry bout. These guys do not like each other. There's been a lot of shots thrown. Tim James doesn't like Corey Bell for things that he's done in the past. Corey Bell thinks he's changed. Bell has really focused on boxing this time, which is interesting. He's really changed his style from that kickboxing style with those spinning side kicks that he lands to the body really well. He's headhunting this fight. Tim James, he's very, very settled. He's starting to perfect his style, so that gives Tim James a little bit of an advantage in this fight. I think that Corey, if he can handle the weight gain, which I think he can, he should win, because he's got a lot more experience against rivals. Don't forget, rivals really motivate Corey. Against Jai Collins, he fought for every inch of that fight. Whereas against Sonny, against the guy who he respected, maybe he took his foot off the pedal a little bit. So I think this fight's going to bring the best out of Corey. I think he wins by decision. I think it's going to be a war. Our next fight on the card, we get into our main 3 fights. Our 3 title fights on the card. Lachlan Martin, the champion, versus Rahal Kaval, number 1 ranked middleweight. This is the second fight of their careers. They fought twice now. Once this fight happens, this is the rematch. Kaval is so motivated, and he's been changing everything about his training. It's so good to see how motivated he has been. Obviously, I played with him at Canberra, so I've watched him develop his skills, develop his power, develop his defense. His defense against Attila was pretty strong. Whereas Lachlan Martin, he hasn't missed a day of training. So this is going to be a big fight. I think that Rahal definitely can take the belt back from Lachlan Martin, who won it against him by a round 1 knockout. But that is the problem. You lost by round 1 knockout. How embarrassing is that? But also, what does that do to your confidence? Like I was talking about before with, I think it was Mark Iron, when he got knocked out by Sam Herman. Does it make you hesitant to get in there, especially against the guy that did knock you out in such brutal fashion to win a belt? So Rahal's going to have to be really, really careful. Who do I think is going to win? Rahal showed a lot of promise against Attila, but I'm just going to have to go with Lachlan Martin, the champion. I think that it's probably the safe bet. Either men can win. I think that Lachlan will win, though. I think he'll win by decision. I think that Rahal will improve his approach. I think he's going to be a lot better. I think he'll surprise Lachlan a little bit with how much better he is than what he was too. Our next fight, our other co-main event, as second last fight of the night, Sonny Taya, the champion of the lightweight division, takes on Jacob Morris, the number 1 ranked contender. Both men 3-0. Someone's O has got to go. Both fighters love a war. They have a very, very similar style, so this is going to be an absolute brawl. You watch Sonny in that Corey Bell fight. The first round, he sort of took off a little bit, And what I mean by took off, I don't mean he took off flying. I meant he really was just very passive. And I was worried. I was thinking, because Corey Bell's very technical, whereas Sonny loves a strap. And I was thinking, is Sonny going to get in here? or has he, has the lights got to him? But in the end, he just made it a dogfight. And Jacob's going to love every single part of that. He's going to want it to be a dogfight too. He's going to get in there. He's going to scrap with Sonny. It's going to be a scrap. Jacob has, every single fight has gone to decision. So I question if he's got knockout power, if I'm honest. He's got knockdown power, but he eats a lot of shots too. And realistically, you could argue Jai Collins won that last fight as well. And I love Jacob. I think he's a great guy, great fighter, one of my good mates. But this is going to be a tough fight for him. I think that Sonny is going to win. And I don't think it'll be by decision simply because these men love a war. I can't see either of these men not getting knocked out. It's going to be 5 rounds, 25 minutes with the input that they put in. Nah. I think that Sonny wins round 3 knockout. That's when Jacob's fights usually have ended. He's never fought a 5-round fight before because he's never fought for the title, whereas Sonny now has. He's fought a 4-round fight with Corey. That's huge for them. I think Sonny wins round 3 knockout. Last fight of the night, the main event. John Nanai, he's back, the champion of the heavyweight division, up against Luke Short, the number 1 ranked heavyweight contender. Nanai, he's very, very slick, whereas Short is huge and he's a powerhouse, similar to Malchus, and we saw what Nanai did to Malchus. However, he hasn't fought for a long time, whereas Luke Short's been very, very active. That's an interesting one, and that's what's really tipping me over the edge here. I think Luke Short, we saw what he could do against a slick guy like Jackson Allison, who is very slick, similar to John Nanai, and Short was not fazed by him at all. I think Luke Short will be the new heavyweight champion at the end of this fight. I love John Nanai. I think he's one of the biggest, best fighters of the whole sport, but I think that Luke Short will win. I'm tipping Luke Short to win by I'll go TKO, technical knockout, by leg kicks. I think he'll break him down those leg kicks again, because those leg kicks are killer, man. That's how he's won both of his fights. I think it'll end probably round 3 or round 4. So that's all the fights, guys. I'll read them through for you in case you missed them. Maverick Oldfield versus Mark Iron. Charlie Butler versus Liam Ryan 3. Jackson Allison versus Lennox Prakash. Jai Collins versus Sam Herban. Jamal Kalsakau versus Attila Sentendag. Tim James versus Corey Bell. Lachlan Martin versus Rahal Kaval 2. Sonny Taya versus Jacob Morrison. John Nanai versus Luke Short. Now, before we end the fight, in the podcast story, I want to go through our pound-for-pound rankings. At number 10, Sam Herban. He's ranked number 10 in the world in the SFC division. He's got a lot of upside. I'm excited to see how he goes. Number 9, another guy with a lot of upside, Jamal Kalsakau. I think that he's going to keep on improving. It's exciting to see. Number 8, Jai Collins. He's been around for a while now. He's never missed a fight night in his life. He's fought at Fight Night 1, Fight Night 2, and Fight Night 3, and a fight on the Contender Series. He's one of the most active fighters. You got to rate his dedication. Number 7, Rahal Kaval, barely beat Jai Collins. We know these two don't like each other. I want to see Collins move up to middleweight. I'm not going to lie. I think it'd be really good to see. Number 6, Corey Bell, coming off a loss, unfortunately, but he's got a big chance against Tim James. He doesn't feature on this list, to prove that he still is a big, big adversary in the SFC in general. Number 5, Luke Short. He speaks for himself. He's had some big wins against some big opponents. Number 4, Jacob Morrison, undefeated, having a title shot. Be interesting to see how he goes. Number 3, Lachlan Martin, one of the champions of the division. He has to be in that top 3. But I just think he's only had one fight, whereas Sonny and John's had one as well, but John showed a lot in that one fight, which is why they're probably above him. Number 2, Sonny Taya, simply because he's just won the belt. If he hasn't have defended already, he'd be number 1 pound for pound for sure. If he defends this belt, he'll take number 1 spot. Regardless of what happens with John Nanai, who is number 1, I think Sonny Taya will take that number 1 spot if he beats Jacob Morrison. Whereas John Nanai, you know what? You can't see him dropping out of the top 3 unless he loses the belt. So, John Nanai, he's one of the best heavyweights in the world at the moment in MMA. So, don't take anything away from him. I think that he's got a huge opportunity. If he shows really good signs against Luke Short, he probably keeps it. So, that's our pound-for-pound rankings, folks. Number 1, John Nanai. Number 2, Sonny Taya. Number 3, Lachlan Martin. Number 4, Jacob Morrison. Number 5, Luke Short. Number 6, Corey Bell. Number 7, Rahal Kaval. Number 8, Jai Collins. Number 9, Jamal Kalsakau. And number 10, Sam Herban. So, guys, this podcast has been going on for quite some time, about 20 minutes, I think. I've really enjoyed doing this one. I do love talking MMA, just don't get around to it very often. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, let me know if you want to see more podcasts. Maybe I should bring some fighters on or some more people. If you know your stuff about this sport, let me know and we'll get you on and we'll start talking a bit more MMA. Yeah, I really enjoyed the podcast, guys. Make sure you let me know your thoughts on each fight. They will be posted in the Discord once this goes live. Same as the pound for pound rankings. Let me know if you agree with them. Let me know what changes you'd make. And let me know your predictions for SFC Fight Night 4. See you guys soon.